Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Senate Committee on Commerce and Labor. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Buck. Here. Senator Daly. Here. Senator Hammond. Senator Lang. Here. Senator Pazina. Senator Scheibel. Here. Senator Stone. Here. Chair Spearman. Here.
So good morning and welcome to our audience here in Carson City, and those of you who are joining us at Grant Sawyer in Las Vegas, and those who are joining us remotely on the phone. Today we have two bill hearings on the agenda, but first let me go over a few housekeeping items. You can view these meetings in person. You can do it telephonically, you can submit written comment, or you can share your opinion on the legislature's opinion website. Anyone wishing to testify should sign in at the table and present a business card to our secretary. Any exhibits for the committee must have been submitted by 8 o'clock yesterday. 8 o'clock yesterday. When you testify, make sure that you turn on the mic, speak into the mic, project your voice. We have a number of people who are listening to us on the internet, and if you don't project your voice, they won't be able to hear or understand you. A reminder to all those who testify pursuant to Nevada Revised Statute 218E.085, a person who knowingly misrepresents facts when testifying before a legislative committee is a person who is guilty of a misdemeanor. In addition, both the chair and members may request any testifier to submit documentation supporting their testimony. All committee-related information is available on Nellis, which is accessible from the legislature's website. We'll take public comment at the end of the meeting, but please note that public comment is limited to 2 minutes, and it does not, should not, will not contain anything related to the bills that we have already discussed. And finally, please turn off your audio, video, your anything that goes ring. And if you paid $2,000 for it, it ought to have an off button there someplace. So just turn it off so that it doesn't interrupt the hearing. So we're going to start with Senate Bill 259. Senator Dondero Loop, will you come on up and please begin when you're ready. The measure revises provisions relating to alcoholic beverages,
which we all may need.
We keep having every session. We keep having these.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Good morning, Madam Chair Spearman. For the record, I am Marilyn Dondero Loop. I am representing Senate District 8 in Clark County. I am pleased to present Senate Bill 259, which builds upon our previous efforts concerning wine and wineries in this state. Over the last decade, we have made changes to Nevada law that made the prospect of opening and operating a winery in Nevada more attractive. For example, in 2015, the legislature made many changes to Nevada's winery laws by creating new opportunities for wineries to operate in the state. While there were no changes to the licensing or permitting requirements of a winery, it did change the scope of a winery's permitted operation. The measure expanded where wineries could operate in the state by permitting wineries in Clark and Washoe counties, expressly permitted wineries to produce, bottle, blend, and age wine, and added restrictions concerning the wine and other alcoholic beverages a winery can sell at retail. As a result of this measure, we have grown from 4 successful commercial wineries to 10 successful wine producers in this state. In 2013, the Governor's Office of Economic Development first identified the expansion of vineyards as one of the state's agricultural opportunities, finding that wine grapes have low water requirements and vineyards often offer tourism opportunities such as tours or wine tasting. Now, according to the 2022 Economic Impact Analysis by the National Association of American Wineries in Washington, D.C., Nevada's wine industry generates close to $3.54 billion in total economic activity. Even with these advancements, vintners continue to face challenges. For instance, the restrictions on tasting and retail selling of products can hamper businesses wanting to expand throughout Nevada. In addition, there is a lack of parity between wineries licensed before and after October 1st, 2015. Nevada's climate is conducive to grow a wide array of varietals, but getting to the point of having an established and sustainable vineyard is cost prohibitive because of these restrictions. For these reasons, I am happy to sponsor Senate Bill 259. In just a minute, I will call up 3 experts in this field, but before I do that, I'd just like to go through 2 sections of the bill. Section 1 deletes provisions limiting the amount of wine that a winery licensed on or before September 30th, 2015 may sell at a location other than on the premises of the winery to not more than 50% of the total volume of wine sold by the winery. This section further authorizes a winery licensed on or after October 1st, 2015 to sell or serve its wine at one other location other than on the premises of the winery if the winery uses more than 25% of fruit grown or honey produced within the state. If a winery uses less than 25% of fruit grown or honey produced within this state, the bill increases from 1,000 to 2,000, the number of cases sold or served at the winery or one other location, and additionally authorizes such a winery to sell or serve not more than 150 barrels of cider produced by the winery per calendar year. In addition, Section 1 revises existing provisions authorizing the State Board of Agriculture to adopt certain regulations ensuring that a winery is in compliance with federal law, requires the board to adopt such regulations, and creates a certification for wine produced, blended, and aged from fruit grown or honey produced in this state. Section 2 of the bill revises provisions that govern the process as to when a Board of County Commissioners or the governing board of a city may recommend the suspension or revocation of the license of a brew pub, instructional winemaking facility, craft distillery, or estate distillery to the Department of Taxation, and includes that such a decision or decisions to dismiss a complaint must be rendered within 60 days after the citation is served upon a license. We have 3 guests with us today. I have former Senator Mike Schneider, who will be coming up to give you a little history of the original bill. And I have Patty Peters and Mike I'm just going to butcher this, so Big Mike is going to come up, and they are going to give you some information on their product and their facility and answer some questions for you. And then we have a friendly amendment that will be coming forward. So with that, Madam Chair, I would like to step back because I need 3 people up here and there are 3 chairs. So I will step back and let them come forward.
Thank you. All of them are here in Carson City?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Mike Schneider. Do we still give our address? No? Okay. So in 2005, I did a bill here in the legislature that created an opportunity to do a wine school. And how that works, and I'll let them go into more detail, but citizens come in, they order the grapes and all that, and they have all the equipment there, and you can make your own wine. And that was a big deal to get passed in 2005. And since then, you know, they've grown. And usually, you know, you pass a bill here in the legislature, and then it goes on its way, and you never know what happens. Well, this has been a very thriving business, and people from all over the state actually come in to make wine here. And an offshoot of that is they make some wine, because the laws did change a bit, and they sell it out of their winery down there. They have a tasting room at the winery, but their winery is in a industrial area, so there is no foot traffic, and only people that really know about it come down there. And what we want to do here is create an opportunity where they can go to a nice area and have a wine tasting facility. And that would be, you know, maybe Water Street in Henderson, where they have the Arts District, or downtown Las Vegas in the Arts District, something like that. And so that's what we're doing here. And, you know, we started off, this business started off slow, went through all the ups and downs of a new business, and then it really hit the ground running, and they've expanded once and are in a big warehouse area and doing a great job. So with that, I would Madam Chair, I'd like to introduce Patty and Big Mike, as we call him, because no one can pronounce his last name. And Mike will take over and explain a little bit. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Mike Shane Beckler. I'm a co-owner of Vegas Valley Winery with Patty Peters. Would you like me to spell my last name? It's
Please.
Mike, M-I-K-E, Shane Beckler, S-C-H-O-E-N-B-A-E-C-H-L-E-R. First, I'd like to thank Senator Dondero Loop for sponsoring this bill and bringing it forth, and for you guys to consider it. Basically, we're a small winery located in Henderson, and we've had the Grape Expectations Nevada Wine School now for 16 years. Like Senator Schneider was saying, we've been growing over the years. We have many people from all over the state that come down and make wine. We teach them how to make wine. They get to go through the winemaking process. So when it became feasible to open a commercial winery, it seemed like a good fit for us. So when that happened, we definitely started to produce some commercial wines. We have a very small tasting room in Henderson, connected to our production facility. But as Mike was saying, Senator Schneider, one of the bigger challenges is we are in an industrial complex. So it is difficult to get the general public to even acknowledge that we're there, let alone come and visit us. So that's why we would like to be able to have a secondary location for our tasting room, to where we could relocate in an area that has a little bit more foot traffic. Like downtown Las Vegas, the Arts District, Water Street, and Henderson. They're all thriving currently, and we would love to be a part of that. At the same time, still being able to serve wine at our location for people who do come to the winery and want to get a tour and want to have a glass of wine. So that's why we were asking for the two locations. On top of that, the restrictions on the production and sales of 1,000 cases, we are now bumping up against that limit currently, and so that's the reason we would like to expand that to allow for some additional revenues to facilitate potentially a second location. As well as the hard apple cider, which has kind of never really been addressed before. About 4 or 5 years ago, we started to make hard apple cider. And to my knowledge, we are currently the only winery in the state that makes all Nevada hard cider. So we source our apples from North Las Vegas at Gilcrease Orchards, and we produce in Henderson. So we have a 100% Nevada product. In the hard apple cider, it's become very popular. And so we are definitely to the point where we want to produce enough of it that we can actually start to distribute it to bars and restaurants, going through the proper chains, three-tier system. But yeah, so that's, in a nutshell, that's pretty much what we're looking to do. It will allow us as a small business to grow. It'll allow us to create jobs and just become more sustainable as a business and a winery. I believe these provisions will also allow for new wineries, startup wineries that are looking to do this. It will allow them the breathing room to get up and started. And as more wineries open in the state, it will also put a higher demand on Nevada grapes, which will hopefully, the agricultural side of it, the grape growers will start to grow more, plant more grapes, and be beneficial to the whole state. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Patty?
Good morning, Madam Chair, committee members. Patty Peters, P-E-T-E-R-S. The only thing I'd like to add is I'm very proud of Vegas Valley Winery. We're the first one in Clark County, which was huge for us. A lot of the people that end up coming are people that make wine with us, and we're not just exclusive to Las Vegas. We have people that come from Reno and have for 16 years, and they keep coming back because it's just it's a wonderful little community of people that love wine and people that love making wine. Hopefully we're here to stay. We want to be here a very long time, and we appreciate you taking the time to listen to us today. And if you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee, any questions? Of course, Senator Stone.
Well, thank you, and good morning. It's nice to talk about wine at 8:20 in the morning, because I usually don't start with my first glass till 10. But it's great to see you all, and Senator, it's very nice to meet you, and thank you for laying the foundation for viticulture, which is the study of how to make wines. And I want to congratulate our 2%ers for your success. When I first moved to Nevada a few years ago, I didn't know there was even a wine industry here, and I came from a wine growing area. In fact, I owned a vineyard. It's called Stone Reserve in Temecula, California, and I was on the board of supervisors there in 2005 to 14, and actually saved our wine country, which today is a billion-dollar industry. So there's a tremendous opportunity for growth here, and I wish you continued success. But just out of curiosity, why is there a limit on the amount of wine that you can produce? If you can produce 3,000 barrels or cases, why not? I mean, as long as we're using domestic grapes, and I understand there's not enough grapes to fully make 100% of a Nevada wine, but certainly that could be a goal in the future. But what is the reason for even putting a limit on what you can produce?
For the record, Mike Schnabechler. Thank you, Senator, for the question. It's actually a limit on the amount that we can sell per calendar year. And it basically is to help promote the Nevada grape industry. So basically, if we do have a vineyard and we have access to Nevada fruit, and we can use of the total sum of production, if it can be 25%, then we are unlimited in our sales. But it's based on the amount of fruit that's available and being able to either own or grow a vineyard. So for us, excuse me, being in Henderson, Las Vegas, obviously planting a vineyard is not cost effective or even feasible, just because of the lack of land and property. So so that's kind of the reason that they put the sales limit on the wineries that don't produce Nevada fruit or use Nevada fruit in their production.
And that's certainly understandable. And so the model of what you're trying to do is not unique, and I support the model that's being proposed here today. Even in the Temecula wine country, a lot of the wineries don't make their wine at the wineries. They actually have it in industrial zones where it's a lot less expensive to produce it, and they actually refer them to as refineries. That's where they're making all the wine, and then bringing it to the tasting rooms in the touristy areas to sell their products. So I just want to congratulate you for your success, and Senator, thank you for laying the foundation for the growth of a wine industry here, and I look forward as a Henderson resident to come in and tasting your wonderful product, and I wish you continued success.
Great. Thank you very much.
Senator Buck.
Thank you, Chair Spearman. I'm a customer of Grape Expectation. Actually made some wine called Buck 2020 a couple years ago. Are you going to be making any of these products at your second location, or it's just going to be tasting?
For the record, Mike Schnabechler. Thank you, Senator, for the question. The secondary location would strictly be there would not be any manufacturing taking place at that location.
Additional questions? Okay. All righty. So we'll now open the floor for those who want to testify in support. Those who want to testify in support. And we'll take 20 minutes for each and ask everybody to limit the testimony to 2 minutes because we have another bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the committee, my name is Helen Foley, and as a private citizen, I'm just representing myself today to tell you how much fun it is to make wine. Senator Schneider asked me several years ago, would you like to join our wine group? Judy Stokey was a member of the group, and I thought, I'm not wealthy enough to make wine. I'm not a winemaker, and he encouraged me to do that, and so I didn't that year, but I joined a group that Julie Wilcox had. And we ended up having such a great time. We make wine twice a year because some of our wine comes from south of the equator. So we have the opportunity to do Chilean wine, South African wine, and we really have a wonderful, wonderful experience. Some of the illustrious people that you know that participate with us, Rose McKinney James, Sabra Smith Newby, Russell Rowe, Rocky Finseth, Constance Brooks, Misty Grimmer. It's an excuse to have a party. It really is. But what we do is we go through the crushing process and the racking process and the bottling. We do our own labels. We get creative. We can use them as presents to people. When you go to someone's house, here's a bottle of wine that we made in Henderson. It's a great activity, a great event, but they are kind of trapped in this law that we have. And it would really be great for more people in Nevada, certainly in southern Nevada, to experience what they're doing, and we'll encourage them to come down and participate with us and make wine. So thank you very much for considering this legislation, and I really thank Senator Dondero Loop for introducing it.
Thank you, Chairwoman Spearman and members of the committee. My name is Wes Rizard. I'm the Deputy State Director with Americans for Prosperity, and that's spelled WIZROUZARD. And we are glad absolutely to support this bill. We believe small businesses, especially wineries, have a very intricate role in empowering our local economies, and there's no better way to unleash that economic prosperity than to remove the restrictions. And I believe this will empower our local businesses as shared here today. I agree with you, Senator Stone. We did say, why would there be a cap? And I think there's room for improvement there, but we're happy to see this bill move forward. And let's get the party started in Vegas with these local wineries. So thank you, and we urge you to support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and the committee. My name is Emily Osterberg, for the record, Osterberg. I'm here representing the Henderson Chamber of Commerce and our over 1,800 members, most of which are small businesses. As we heard, most wineries are small businesses, and we believe this bill will help them expand their business in a responsible manner while easing these regulations that can stifle their growth. And for this reason, we are in support of SB 259. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here in Carson City in support? Anyone in Las Vegas? If you're in support, please come to the table. There are 3 chairs. And if you're here in Carson City and your support, there are 3 chairs up here too. Please begin, Las Vegas.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Tim Burke. I'm the winemaker and the co-owner of Artesian Cellars Winery in Pahrump. I'm here in support of SB 259. There are very few wineries in Nevada. Every adjoining western state has more wineries than we do here in Nevada. The changes brought forth with this bill will help current wineries be more financially viable and hopefully will increase the number of wineries in Nevada. It is the goal of every winery located in our great state to have more wineries, to make wineries strong and have more wineries in our industry. The addition of an additional tasting room is a common practice in our neighboring states. It makes sense to have a winery's production facility near the vineyards. Land is less expensive, building costs are less, labor costs are also less. The problem with having a tasting room located in rural areas, there are very few customers. For example, the Frey family in Fallon. They worked very hard for many years establishing Churchill Vineyards. Fallon is an hour from the closest major metropolitan area, Reno. Their winery was the only winery in Fallon. It was very difficult for them to market their wine to the Reno area and convince Reno residents to drive to Fallon to visit their winery. Their wineries were beautiful. Their taste room and production facilities were first class. The Freys themselves are very wonderful people dedicated to Nevada. Very few people came to Fallon to visit their winery. Unfortunately, after years of hard work, the Freys have seized their winery operation. They're concentrating on their distillery, which uses a distribution business model. If the Freys had an opportunity to open a second taste room in the Reno area, it might have been economically profitable and they might still be operating as a Nevada winery today. Cider is considered a wine is made from fruit, most commonly apples. Nevada does not have a very large apple orchard industry, and establishing a separate case category for cider will give those wineries that are producing cider the ability to grow that market segment without affecting their wine case cap. Wine starts as an agricultural product. There is a direct correlation between locally grown wine grapes and developing a wine region. Napa is associated with high-quality wines made from Napa vineyards,
Thank you, sir.
but is not the
Thank you.
only wine
Hello?
region in
Sir, I'm sorry.
California.
The 2 minutes is up, and please submit your
Oh,
testimony.
that was quick.
Yeah, it does. So please submit the rest of your testimony in writing, okay?
I will do that.
All right, thank you so much,
for
sir.
the opportunity.
Okay. Someone else is sitting at the table next, please.
Yes, good morning. My name is Bill Loken, that's L-O-K-E-N. And I would just like to say that between 2003 and 2019, my wife and I owned the Pahrump Valley Winery in Pahrump, of all places, and we grew it into the largest winery in the state. To kind of give you a little background, in 2008, we released the first 100 cases of Nevada red wine ever commercially produced in the state. When we sold the winery in 2019, we were up to producing approximately 2,500 to 3,000 cases of Nevada wine per year. And the vineyards that we were working with, different growers, had increased production to a point where we were on a path to be able to do about 5,000 or 6,000 cases of Nevada wine a year. So why do I tell you all this? One of the subjects that's been brought up earlier was this cap, this 2,000 case cap, and then the 25% Nevada fruit. Well, years ago in 2015, when the laws were changed, I recognized, as did others, that if we did not have a strong incentive to actually require Nevada-grown grapes, the state of Nevada would absolutely miss the bus and lose an opportunity to grow a brand new industry, the one that uses less water than alfalfa, but also creates agritourism. Nobody goes to go see alfalfa fields, but they do want to go see vineyards. So the idea of the 25% Nevada fruit after 2,000 cases does this. It keeps the pressure on to continue to develop Nevada vineyards and produce Nevada wine, because customers really want to buy local wine. We did not want to see the industry in Nevada turn into what we called a wine suburb of California. With all due respect to the gentleman that spoke earlier, we wanted to create our own identity, like Arizona has done, Oregon has done, Washington, and other states. So just to put it in perspective, 1 acre of grapes in southern Nevada will produce about 250 cases of Nevada wine. So if a winery wanted to grow their sales capacity by 1,000 cases, they would only have to produce 1 acre of Nevada grapes. That's a small price to pay. So
Thank you, sir.
I am fully in support of the changes that are being made here.
Thank you. Yeah.
And
Thank you. Please, submit the rest of it in writing. It's very, very interesting. I'm getting a good education, and I wonder what that looks like in a communion cup. But anyway, thank you. But submit the rest of your testimony in writing, please. BPS. Anyone on the phones?
You would like to testify in support of SB 259, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. The public line is open and working. There are no callers at this time.
Thank you. Anyone else in Carson City? Anyone else in Las Vegas? Seeing none, we'll move now to those in opposition. Here in Carson City. Anyone in opposition in Las Vegas? BPS, anyone on the phone?
If you would like to testify in opposition to SB 259, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. The public line is open and working. There are no callers at this time.
Thank you. We'll move now to those testifying in neutral. Anyone testifying in neutral here in Carson? Anyone neutral in Las Vegas? Thank you. Welcome. Begin when you're ready.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Alfredo Alonso today on behalf of Southern Wine and Spirits. We thank Mike and Patty and Helen for working with us on trying to find a balance. As everybody knows, this started out as a rural incentive by, of all people, Joe Dini many years ago to try to get wineries in the rural areas, and it was an economic development attempt. Soon after, you started seeing some wineries sprouting up, and that's when I think you saw the bill a few years back by Mr. Hickey in the Assembly to try to. It was never illegal to have wineries in the other counties. You just couldn't have a tasting room. So adding that to it was an important piece. And as Mr. Loken indicated, which, by the way, anybody that can grow wine in the desert is my hero. I'll just say that. So I know how hard he and the rest of these folks work on their wineries. I think it's important to give everybody the ability to get there, and I think that's what Mike and Patty are trying to do, is to import, and that's the cap. The cap's only on imported grapes. Once you grow or buy, that's the incentive, then it's unlimited. And I think it's a great way to manage the system, which is what Arizona didn't do for a while, and then they came back to it, and now they're thriving. So again, I'm happily neutral and support their efforts. And by the way, the reason that apple and cider's in there is because federally they treat that as a wine. And so we had to differentiate it because it's just not addressed in Nevada law. And the only issue that I have, and you have an amendment before you, it's a friendly amendment, in section 1, sub 2, that was not supposed to be deleted. The purpose of that is that if you're going to have another location, it's not your primary. You can sell as much as half at that location. You just can't move everything into that tasting room because you're not manufacturing it there. You still have to have a primary location, and that was more of a mistake than anything else. We were all in agreement at the beginning. And I'll answer any questions if you have them.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. For the record, I'm Ashley Jepson with the Nevada Department of Agriculture. So first of all, we appreciate the intent of this bill in trying to increase opportunities for Nevada businesses and potentially for Nevada growers. That's always a good thing. But with that, some of the language in the bill that is requiring the Department of Agriculture to essentially create the certification program and also adopt regulations for the verifying the label compliance with federal law would come with a cost. You guys do see our fiscal note. And we also are requesting that a fee authority be provided in this bill so we are actually able to see these requirements through. It would require us to go to the sites to verify this compliance, to review all winery labels, how it's written, and that will definitely come with staff time and needs. So I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Alonso.
Madam Chair, we were prepared for this because I know about the fiscal note. Bill Loken and Tim can actually answer questions on this if you need it. We disagree with the need to go. TTB takes care of all of that at the federal level. All they would need, in my view, and if we need to make sure that we work with you to clarify that, is when you pull the grapes out of the ground, there's a bill of lading. So you're going to have proof of what was pulled out of the ground. That's what Tim and other wineries have to send to TTB. If they sell it to an individual, it's going to be shown there as well. There's nothing that I think an agency of any kind other than TTB coming to your winery and doing a DNA check on your wine It's the only way to determine how much wine or what's in there, so it'd all be paperwork. And so I think that all those labeling requirements are all federal labeling requirements. They're all done at the federal level. And I think if we need to clarify how that would be done, all we're trying to do here is assist some of the Nevada wineries who are growing grapes and or using grapes or buying grapes, that they get some benefit from it. Whether that's a sticker, whether that's a modification of their winery. And we strongly believe that as a wholesaler, we want to sell ultimately into the system wine that is Nevada wine, if we can. And hope that answers a little bit of that question.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you so much. BPS, anyone neutral on the phones?
Public line is open and working. There are no callers at this time.
Thank you. Senator Dondero Loop, closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you for hearing Senate Bill 259, and I appreciate everyone's questions. I have not, in reference to the fiscal note, Department of Agriculture has not been in my office and spoken to me about this. So I look forward to having that conversation with them. But I appreciate everyone having these conversations. This is a really fun team building process as well as a wine process. So thank you very much for your time today, and I look forward to passing Senate Bill 259.
Thank you, and I would encourage the Department of Agriculture to get with you because we'll start doing work session. So please get with the sponsor as soon as possible. Thank you so much. And with that, we will close the hearing on Senate Bill 259, and we will open the hearing on Senate Bill 274. Senator Daly.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Skip Daly, representing Senate District 13 in Washoe County, here to bring you some information about Senate Bill 274 on workman's comp. So as most of you know, if anyone spent any time on this committee, you're familiar with workman's comp in Nevada and the many iterations that the legislature has put forward and various things. But essentially, we have a system that's a no-fault system. There's an exclusive remedy, so you can't sue for damages against the employer if you're injured on the job. But that's in exchange for a promise that your medical bills and various things are going to be taken care of if you are indeed injured on the job. And that's what we want to talk about today a little bit, and what this bill is about is when that system fails and the exclusive remedy then fails to take care of the injuries that are caused on the job and people act in bad faith, and that remedy then fails those workers in that situation. So there's two parts of the bills, and I'll go through both of those before I let Kim here tell her story, which I'm sure she can do much better than I can, which is the genesis of the bill and various things. So the second part of the bill is about raising the benefit penalty limit, and I'll go through that when I get to that section. So essentially, what the bill does in Section 1, as you can see, creates a right to sue a third-party administrator or an insurer, right, the insurance company, not necessarily the employer unless you're a self-insured employer, then, you know, that would be the case on that. But then it's not an open-ended right to sue just because you're aggrieved, you don't agree. It's only after you've gone through the process, you've had a hearing, you've gotten an award, and they still deny the claim, or you then go to the appeal process and you win the appeal process and they still deny the claim. Or if you then go to court and win in court and they get an order to cover your injury and they still deny the claim. So those are the steps you would have to go through still. So all of those processes and safeguards that we put in place are still there. But if somebody acts in bad faith and still denies the claim, we need to have a remedy for that, which we currently do not have. So that's what Section 1 does. And then Section 2, we had to go through a lot of pages to get all the way to that language. It increases the benefit penalty. So one of the other remedies that you do have, and you would appeal and go through to the insurance commissioner and ask them to give the insurer a penalty, which is currently set at $5,000, not less than $5,000 or more than $50,000. So I did a little bit of research. So prior to that, I think the limit was $10,000, $1,000, and $10,000, and then in 1999 they increased the maximum benefit penalty to $25,000. In 2005, it was raised to $37,500, and then in 2011 it was raised to the $50,000. So we're 12 years later, and we're trying to make it match what the current tort limit is, which is in NRS 41.035, which is $200,000, excuse me, and that was raised to $200,000 in 2019. So we're trying to catch up the workman's comp benefit penalty to the tort limitation, which was done in 2019, and the current rate hasn't been increased for 12 years, so 2011. So at this time, I would let Ms. Kim Frankel tell her story on how we ended up here and what her case has been, and she can tell it much better than I can, and then we'll come back for questions. And then, of course, we have Leslie Bell here for if there's a question that comes up that I can't answer.
Good morning. My name is Kim Frankel. I am a disabled detective formerly employed by the Washoe County Sheriff's Office. I'm speaking today in support of Senate Bill 274, revising provisions to workers' compensation. On June 25th, 2020, a hit-and-run driver under the influence slammed into the back of my assigned undercover detective vehicle while I was working as a crimes against children detective for the Washoe County Sheriff's Office. Initially, my workers' compensation claim was accepted by my employer, Washoe County, and their third-party administrator, CCMSI. I was diagnosed with whiplash, lumbar strain, a concussion, post-concussion syndrome, vertigo, bilateral ulnar neuropathy, and, as you visually see, some of the symptoms of functional dystonia. I continued to report to work on light duty as instructed by CCMSI's physicians, even though my body was shutting down. I suffered and fought through nausea, vomiting, extreme and debilitating vertigo, burning and itching that made me want to rip my skin off and my hair out, piercing of my ears that stopped me dead in my tracks, auditory exclusion, involuntary muscle contractions, and the violent, repetitive, twisting and shaking of my body. Because I trusted and believed in my employer of 17 years and the workers' compensation system. On May 21st, 2021, after going to several independent medical evaluations scheduled by CCMSI and CCMSI's physicians confirming my diagnoses as industrial, CCMSI issued a determination suspending my benefits and denying the diagnosis of dystonia as non-industrial. They had no supporting evidence, medical or otherwise, to support their determination. On December 29th, 2021, an appeals officer reversed CCMSI's determination. However, they refused to comply. I didn't understand how my employer, Washoe County, and their third-party administrator, CCMSI, could blatantly disregard a judge's order. I then learned Nevada was not a bad faith state, so there is no deterrent for employers and their third-party administrator to intentionally mishandle injured workers' claims. I am here testifying today because after I read an article by political reporter Jessica Hill in the Las Vegas Review-Journal on the backlog of Nevada injured workers' cases, where the injured workers and their attorneys would not authorize their names to be published in fear of retaliation from the current workers' compensation system. I decided to go public with my story. The response I received was overwhelming. In 2005, I took an oath to protect and serve the people of this great state. I've also earned the trust of the state of Nevada by working as a 17-year peace officer and detective, investigating the most heinous of crimes with transparency. So I then made a public promise to all the injured workers of Nevada to be their voice and fight to make Nevada a bad faith state again. My family and I continue to this day to unnecessarily suffer and endure the loss of my career, finances, my independence, our family home, harassment of private investigators, endless judicial hearings, delay of medical treatment, billing, bullying, and unlawful acts committed against me by my own employer, Washoe County, and their third-party administrator, CCMSI, and their legal team. I am now permanently incarcerated by my industrial injuries, not because I was injured on the job, but because to this very day, this very minute, Nevada's workers' compensation system continues to delay my human right to medical treatment despite court orders as high as Nevada's Judicial District Court, and benefit penalties ordered by the Department of Industrial Relations. I believe if there were a deterrent, such as bad faith, the cruel actions of employers, insurance companies, and third-party administrators would be mitigated. This bill is a deterrent. It does not open up the system to frivolous lawsuits. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you all for your time, and I welcome and embrace all questions you may have for me. I thank you for your time.
Committee questions. Senator Scheibel.
Thank you, Senator Daley, for bringing us this bill, and thank you, Ms. Frankel, for being here and advocating for, like you said, all of the injured workers of Nevada. All of us up here are public servants, and I know I would be devastated to be unable to continue in this career. And so I'm very sorry for what you're going through, and also want to commend you for being such an amazing advocate for your community, a community that you that you definitely never wanted to join. And that nobody should ever have to join. So your comments were, I think, very poignant, and I think that the bill really does serve the purpose that you're all trying to achieve. And so my question was, I just wanted to make something clear. Maybe Senator Daley, you can speak to this, or Ms. Frankel, about kind of the practical implication of creating the bad faith standard. And so I want to make sure I'm understanding that if I'm injured on the job and, let's say my medical bills are $10,000 and my employer pays the $10,000, then, and there are no complications, they act in good faith, then I'm done. I can't go back and sue my employer for an additional 5 or 10 just because I am upset that I got injured, or I don't think that $10,000 reflects, my personal pain and suffering. What this does is it says if I'm injured on the job, my bills are $10,000, but my insurance company only pays me $5,000, then I can go sue them and say, hold on, our agreement was 10, you only paid 5, you still owe me another 5. Am I understanding this correctly?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, again, Skip Daley, for the record, that is, I believe, the intent. So if you entered into a settlement, then you entered into that settlement, and if they pay the $10,000, as your example was, then that would be it. You would have, that's the exclusive remedy. If you entered into the settlement and they didn't follow through, then of course you have appeals, you have some other recourse and some other steps to take. But if they still every step of the way deny, as they did in Kim's case, right? So she went to the appeal, she got the benefit penalty, still didn't deter, and to this day they're still denying the claim. And part of the story that she didn't mention, and correct me if I get this wrong, but it's my understanding that she went and getting the treatment best that she can, that she's paying for out of her pocket, and that Washoe County is still attempting to interfere with that in intimidating her doctor providing treatment, and he's stopped that treatment because of their meddling, threats, whatever you want to say. And I was going to close with this, but I'll say it now, is the legislature, not this particular one, but the legislature, so us, we created this system which allows this to happen, and we're the only ones that can fix it. And I think we have that responsibility to do it. It needs to be narrow, work with the industry, make sure that it's not creating frivolous lawsuits or somebody that, but if there's a denial after denial, hearing after a hearing award, after a court award, et cetera, there's got to be a remedy, and we have to fix it.
Additional questions?
I'm sorry. For the record, Kim Frankel, Senator Scheibel. In addition to giving a complete answer, in my case, my claims are accepted. It's been open and accepted because it was ordered through the courts. My employer and their third-party administrator, despite court orders, are still not complying. So what that does to the employee is you have an open claim. You cannot go see a physician on your own. It has to be through the workers' comp system. So what has happened is that I cannot use my own private health insurance. That would be committing fraud in the state of Nevada. So, despite court orders, because there is no deterrent and no repercussion to them, here I am. This has been going on since June 25th of 2020. An employee, I cannot get out of it. I cannot go, as Senator Skip Daly said. I pursued because I had a window of recovery that their picked physicians, neurologists, told them I would recover. They did not comply with the doctor's recommendations, their doctors. So now I am permanently disabled because of that, because I did not receive the treatment in the window of recovery. I seeked out medical treatment through Oregon Health and Science University on recommendation of their neurologists. I am paying cash $600 an hour for my treatment. In doing so, they still sought out my neurologist team at OHSU, sent them 2 volumes of non-essential documentation that would lead any reasonable person, let alone a organization of physicians at the highest level, lead them to believe that they will be pulled in to a lawsuit or litigation or court. So when I left here after the first week of the legislative session, so I would not miss any of the treatment I am paying cash for, it has been stopped. I have exhausted everything through the law. I've gone through the judicial system like every other injured employee. I have gone through the benefit penalties. They have completed investigations, and all it has done, and they have been found guilty, when I say they, CCMSI, of the mismanagement of my case. And all it has done is tied me up even more in the judicial system. I now have an appeal still on the DIR findings and determination on May 24th. I am nowhere closer, even though I'm tried to pay cash, to receiving the medical treatment any of us in this room deserve. All because I was injured on the job, being hit by a driver under the influence who is now serving his time. I did my job. I upheld my oath. He ran. I pursued. I got him off the streets before he killed somebody else. Or killed anybody, excuse me. This system treats injured workers that just want to get back to work worse than a perpetrator who commits the most heinous crimes in this country. Thank you.
If I can add just one comment there, and so this is not retroactive. Kim is not going to benefit if this bill passes. This is for future people, so I even commend her more for taking the fight.
Just real Real briefly, for the record, Leslie Bell, Washoe County Sheriff's Deputies Association. I am their workers' compensation representative. I've been on both sides of this. I owned a TPA. I handle claims. Today, I handle claims. The difference between a bad faith remedy and the benefit penalty remedies that exist today is bad faith is defined as malicious and willful. Our Supreme Court has defined it as the absence of a reasonable basis for denying benefits in prior case law. Benefit penalty, so to your question, Senator Scheibel, if you have a routine claim, those things are founded in statute. They're taken care of, you get determinations, you get appeal rights, you go through the Department of Administration if you disagree. In the case where a decision was made to deny this diagnosis and suspend her benefits, which ended up resulting in her constructive termination from the county, they had no evidence. There was not one medical record that did not say this was not related to that accident, and they still denied it. That's bad faith. That's the core of bad faith. That is not covered by benefit penalty. So just a clarification, thank you.
And thank you for that clarification. I think that helps me to understand what is a complex process, and hopefully the rest of the committee too.
Committee, additional questions? So we just have a couple. And I was medically retired. And what brought that on primarily was I'd been selected for a United Nations assignment and had to get a complete physical. And they found out my shooting hand wasn't working. Didn't know what it was or anything like that. Went to Walter Reed, went to Bethesda, and Bethesda's the one that figured out it was dystonia. And so I now get shots every 6 months, Botox. Otherwise, this hand is permanently closed. Fortunate that I was in the military, and so they take care of that. I'm glad I was in the military. And I think the thing that we have in common is I was also a military police officer, which is why they said they'd have to retire me because you need your hand. And so I was not able to go to the UN peacekeeping assignment. So I have a question, somebody answer for me. So we see on advertisements, and whenever you go to the doctor or you go to the hospital, they've got, I think strokes is the word fast. I don't know what I can't remember the terms, but, and I know that the other thing that happens in many cardiac cases, I'm not a doctor, don't play one on TV, but I just know that in many cardiac cases, they tell you to get an aspirin or something like that within a certain time period. And so the 3-year window, I'm just trying to understand if that is something like what they say you have to do this, to help people recover from a stroke. And I have a sister who had 2. That window, that's a medical opinion.
For the record, Kim Frankel, Senator Spearman. Yes, that was a medical recommendation because the dystonic postures symptoms started in my hands and my fingers within 9 days of the accident. And by the time I saw their neurologist, Dr. Pang, December 2nd, my hands were clawed like this. And right that very first visit, he told them I have dystonic postures, and there was the window for recovery. And then through their independent medical evaluations, their other neurologist who completed those, Dr. Quaglieri, also told them the treatment that I needed and that I would recover. In between administrative hearings to the judicial hearing, we purposely, my legal team, did not appeal so I could pay on my own, because all I wanted to do was get back to work. So I paid to go to UCSF because CCM, so I was not complying. And when I got there, Dr. G, I cannot pronounce his full name, explained to my husband and I that you have a 3-year window. And by then it had was already going to different parts of my body, limbs, my trunk, my neck. And he still, because I had kept myself motivated and reading and doing everything that I could on my own that the doctors were telling me, he still thought that I would recover. When I got to OHSU, September 19th of this year, Dr. Krakovic has deemed me permanently disabled. As he explained, you can only do so much on your own without having the professionals to help you. And I don't know if I answered your question. I apologize. I tried.
It does. And I don't want to tax you too much, but the question would be, prior to the accident, you said you were detective undercover. So were you in pretty good physical condition, or just trying to understand quality of life before this?
I was, without this, I was a professional cyclist before I became a police officer. Throughout my career, up until just months prior to my accident, I still competed at an extremely high level in ultra trail running, CrossFit competitions, the Festivus Games for competition, CrossFit competitions. One event, I was #1 in the world in the Festivus competition. Within the same year, approximately the same year of this accident, I was extremely fit. And I kept that because my family, I did this with my family, my children, my husband, through my career. That is why you see me today not in a wheelchair. I don't want other people suffering this injury of dystonia to be compared to me. It has been pointed out through the Dr. G at UCSF. I am still functioning today because of my athletic background, and I fought my butt off to be this functioning. And I truly believe it's because my brain had an athletic. It started when I was 8 years old in 1980. I went to the Junior Olympics for track and field. I carried my athleticism. That's why I became. When I was a professional athlete, I felt very entitled. And once I started traveling the world, I wanted to give back, and this is how I chose, because being a cop is so physically and mentally challenging. I knew that was my calling. So yes, I am small, but I am mighty, and I held my own on the streets. And I was an exceptional police officer. I was recognized with many awards. Not that awards define us, and not that if somebody doesn't do their job at a high level deserves to be treated this way.
Thank you. Committee? Senator Daley, do you have anyone else that's going to present?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we'll open it up now for public testimony in support. If there's anyone down south wishes to testify in support of 274, SB 274, please come and occupy the chairs that are at the desk. Yes, please begin.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Jason, Jason Lesher, Lesher. I am the president of the Washoe County Sheriff Deputies Association and also a member of the Public Safety Alliance of Nevada. I will keep my comments brief, as I think the testimony here today speaks enough. Kim was one of our very, very best deputy sheriffs and detectives in the child crimes unit. And she represents exactly why we need work comp reform. And she's not my only person that fights and suffers with this system. Police work is a dangerous occupation, and many of our members suffer injuries while serving their communities. But this bill is not just for police officers. It is a step in the right direction for all workers in the state of Nevada. The work comp system can be a frustrating nightmare, as third-party administrators, city and county officials routinely delay testing and treatment, deny claims outright, and endlessly appeal cases, sometimes all the way to the Nevada Supreme Court, of which our association's had at least 2 in the last 5 years. These delays in treatment cost employees their health, their careers, as you've heard, and so much more. This bill simply seeks to level the playing field and allow employees some recourse when negligence or bad faith actions are proven to have occurred. We urge you to support this much-needed legislation for the hardworking people of our great state, and we appreciate Senator Daley for sponsoring this bill. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Randy Sutton. I'm a retired police lieutenant from the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, a 34-year law enforcement veteran and the founder of the Wounded Blue, the National Assistance and Support Organization for Injured and Disabled Law Enforcement Officers, a nationwide charity that assists men and women injured in the line of duty. Washoe County Deputy Sheriff Kim Frankel was betrayed. She was severely injured in the line of duty while serving the people she swore to protect. The patrol car she was operating was crushed, and her life will never be the same as a result. The accident was just the beginning of her personal tragedy, though. It was her treatment at the hands of callous and inept administrators of the corrupt workers' compensation system that not only failed to properly treat her medically, but in fact refused to allow her adequate and competent treatment. The tragedy here is that Deputy Sheriff Kim Frankel could have been fixed. She could have lived a life free of pain and the spasms that rack her body. She could have continued to serve in the career that she loved. Her life would have been one of joy and fulfillment and promise, and that has been ripped away from her. And the massive injustice here is that she could have been fixed, but she was not. And now, years later, she is still being denied the disability benefits and medical treatments she needs. Why? Because the very system put into place to protect workers when they get injured in the line of duty has been perverted by greed. Deputy Sheriff Kim Frankel and many other law enforcement officers in the state of Nevada have had their lives as they have known them torn away from them by people making the decisions about denying their medical treatments and benefits while building profits for their companies, and they have zero consequences for their actions. The companies are getting rich as they embrace profits over humanity. Just so we're clear here, no one who receives a full 100% disability in the state of Nevada is living large. The most a person who is 100% disabled can receive is less than $45,000 a year. That's the most. And once, unbelievably, the lawyers representing these officers take their cut of 25% or more forever, it is barely livable, and even that meager amount is being denied Kim Frankel. This is injustice on a monumental level. And while I believe the entire workers' comp system in Nevada needs a 100% overhaul, for now, simply voting for this one measure, you can play a role in adding accountability to a system desperately in need of consequences for misconduct and corruption, and bring a measure of justice for Kim Frankel and hundreds of others betrayed by the bureaucracy whose only reason to exist is to safeguard those who serve the people of Nevada. I can tell you this, I know this from my own personal experience as I suffered a stroke in my police car. It ended my police career, almost ended my life, and my own department turned its back on me and did exactly the same thing that they did to Kim Frankel. This has been going on for years. You have it in your hands to make that change and to bring justice. I'm Randy Sutton. Thank you.
For the record, good morning, everyone. Tom Morley, representing Laborers Local 872 and Laborers Local 169. We're in support. Thank you.
Good morning. Wendy Leonard for the record. I'm a retired police lieutenant with the Washoe County Sheriff's Office. I was also a lead labor representative for the Washoe County Employees Association, and I'm here speaking in support of Senate Bill 274. I served over 20 years in public service and over 30 years representing employees in the state of Nevada. The case you heard about today is not a one-off. I personally have heard of dozens of extreme cases of workers' comp failures where the checks and balances are completely ineffective. I've also been involved in hundreds of lower-level cases where Nevada employees are refused or denied treatment resulting in long-term physical disabilities. Employers label the employees who challenge this system as troublemakers. You're going to receive opposition to this bill. The big dollars don't want to be accountable. Your answers are simple. The potential negative impact on any business will be mitigated by simply providing the care and benefits that are already required by Nevada law. You can tell the opponents to this bill that if their vendors inappropriately deny benefits, that they can manage their vendors to reduce their risks. And finally, the responsibility is then, with this bill, put back on the employee to prove that misconduct occurred. The only responsibility of the business or insurance vendor is to follow existing law. Please support Senate Bill 274, and let's bring bad faith back to Nevada. Wendy Leonard, thank you very much.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is John Abel, representing the LVPPA union, the union that represents all the Metro officers. I'm also the co-chair of Metro's Health Trust, so I end up being the conduit between officers dealing with workers' comp issues and the Health Trust as well. So I can tell you there's numerous issues and officers that are shot in the line of duty who have their claims denied and have to fight through appeals, including one right now that I'm working on. So we fully support SB 274. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee and staff. My name is Rick McCann, Nevada Association of Public Safety Officers, and a member of the Nevada Law Enforcement Coalition. One thing that lawyers, litigators, and legislators, you have in common, we got a lot in common. One thing you have in common is you hate to have a right without a remedy. That's what you're here for. That's your job, is to create remedies, sometimes to create rights. There are some rights. We don't have an adequate remedy. Bad faith is a remedy. It's a deterrent. That's your job. This is a remedy. It's been placed right in front of you. All you got to do is say yes. We are here to support SB 274. We ask you to do the same thing. Thank you.
Hello, committee. Thank you for listening to me. My name is Angie Earl, Anjeearl. I had a prepared statement, but I think I'll submit that because I don't want to cry. I am currently working for the Reno Police Department, as I was when I was hit by a drunk driver in May 24th, 2020. I've gone through similar things as Kim Frankel has. Not only have I been punished by my employer, they don't call it punishment because I keep fighting back and trying to get treatment, but the system is set up that even their own doctors, whose livelihood depends upon them giving the answer the insurance company wants, have found that I have been injured and I need treatment. What they do is they delay it until you get to a point where, like me, I'm going to be permanently damaged. And although I was not an elite athlete like Ms. Frankel, I hiked, I took out my dogs, I was able to play with my grandchildren, my children, and now my youngest, my husband unexpectedly died, and he was my caretaker, and had to help me do personal tasks such as shaving my legs, which when I went to one of their doctors for an evaluation was more disturbed by the fact that I hadn't shaved my legs for him because I physically couldn't than he was by the fact that I have serious injuries and pain and effects from the drunk driver hitting me. He hit me so hard that the Reno police sticker was imprinted on his vehicle. Both vehicles were totaled. I went 6 to 8 car lengths. He was punished for what he did, but the delay in treatment that it'll cause me forever to be changed and not to be able to experience life the way that I should and the way I was. They are not held accountable for those delays because there's no bad faith law. And even when you're forced to hire a private attorney to assist you, it doesn't matter because they set a hearing, they delay it. They set a hearing, they delay it. And it's nonstop. And there's no one to go to and say, wait a minute, your doctor said I need treatment, please treat me. They don't care about that. And it would be a lot, we talk about businesses are going to oppose this. I could be, and Kim could be, and dozens, thousands of other people. If you treat us immediately, I'll go back to serving my community immediately and happily. That's what I signed up to do, and that's what I love to do. But I can't because they refused treatment, and I'm likely going to be like this forever. And yes, Madam Chairman, that was a medical diagnosis because of the stuff going on in my brain that I went past the 2 years without them doing what they needed to. And the same thing, I tried to do everything I could at home. Every time someone would say, you do this, my husband would set up whatever it was, he'd order the things, and I do it at home because I want to be better. I know they don't care, but I want to be better, and I support this bill, and I hope that you can picture when you're back there and you're getting opposition, that if it was you, your wife, your husband, your sister, your child, your brother, anyone you love deeply, if this was them, would you want them to be treated like that? And I don't think you would. And I did nothing wrong, but I am treated like the criminal. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Janera Vardy. That's V as in Victor, A-R-T-Y. I'm currently assigned as a sex crimes and child abuse detective for the Reno Police Department. And I love what I do, and I would love to do it for 30 years. I have 25 to go, but I don't think I'll be able to finish those 25. On Monday, February 11, 2019, I was involved in a non-duty traffic accident while patrolling. While working patrol, I lost control of my patrol vehicle when I slid on black ice and ultimately hit a tree. My patrol vehicle was declared a total loss as every airbag was deployed. The body of the vehicle was beyond repair, and both the front and rear axles had been broken. Miraculously, I was able to walk out of the accident with nothing broken, but with severe body aches. At the time of the accident, I placed my arms and hands in front of my head, prior to impact. When the steering wheel airbags deployed, they hit my hands and arms, which then hit my face and head. The left side of my head hit the driver's side window, which caused the window to crack. The force of the accident sent my metal posse box that I had on the driver or the passenger side, flew over and hit me on the back of my head. I was not transported to the hospital after my accident, but I was taken later by a fellow officer. My memory of that night is blurry, as I vividly remember eating a sandwich my friend had gotten me, but the sandwich was never given to me at the hospital, as my friend left it in the fridge, located at the women's locker room of RPD. But I vividly remember sitting at the hospital eating this sandwich. After the accident, I took approximately 2 weeks off work. My shift was Friday through Monday, 2 to midnight. My entire body ached in pain and needed my husband to help me with everything. I needed his help with laying down, sitting up, with sitting down. I could not lift anything. I needed to hold onto the walls or rails when walking around the house. I could not shower, as it was painful to raise my arms above my shoulders. And I could not drive, as it was painful to get in and out of the vehicle. I could not do anything. Immediately after my accident, 3 days after, I went to Dr. Hall, who is the appointed doctor for workers' comp. He put me on light duty for 4 days, despite being off for 2 weeks, taking 2 weeks off of work. Dr. Hall provided me printouts with stretches and told me to continue doing the stretches to relieve the pain I was having. Sometime after that, I received a letter in the mail from CCMSI informing me that my claim would be closed. I had multiple follow-ups with Dr. Hall, once every month, in March, April, and May. As the pain was not going away, I started to feel worse. I started going to physical therapy twice a week on my own, as my workers' comp was closed. Physical therapy was not working, and I started going to Todd's Body Shop, which was referred to a friend. Once the COVID pandemic hit, I was not able to continue physical therapy, but continue the home exercises through 2020. On March 13, 2021, I had an appointment with Dr. Hall for reevaluation regarding my consistent aggravated pain and stiffness on my neck, upper, lower back, and legs, along with numbing on my arms, hands, feet, and legs, which started after my on-duty accident. Dr. Hall provided me a letter with documentation which stated, based on the subjective finding, I would support reopening. On March 30th, 2021, I submitted documentation with the intent to reopen my workers' compensation claim from February 19, but it was not approved. Because my claim was not reopened, I was forced to hire a private attorney, set up several appointments with doctors who provided documentation stating my injuries were consistent with my on-duty accident, but no treatment was available as my workers' comp was not reopened yet. Multiple hearings were scheduled and later rescheduled for unknown reasons with workers' comp. On April 21st, 2020, my attorney informed me that my claim would not be reopened as I had only been on light duty for 4 days, despite me missing work for 2 weeks, immediately after my accident. That same day, I had a follow-up with Dr. Hall. I informed him what my attorney had told me, with tears rolling down my cheeks, that my claim was not approved to be reopened as he had taken me off light duty status after only 4 days, and all he could say was, "That's unfortunate." I remained on light duty status for several months as I started getting treatment using my private insurance. This treatment has not been successful, as prompt treatment intervention was not given to me immediately after my on-duty accident. My body has been in constant pain for over 3 years, and I will likely have permanent life-altering injuries for the rest of my life. While I was finally getting treatment using my own insurance, I was constantly being reminded by my supervisors of all the mandated training that I was missing while being on light duty, which could potentially make me lose my post certificate. Because of the fear of losing my job, I got off of light duty while still in pain and seeking treatment for my on-duty accident. As of today, March 29, 2023, I still suffer from pain in my neck, upper and lower back, my legs and feet. I also suffer from numbness, tingling in my arms, hands, legs, and feet. Because of workers' compensation and their lack of treatment, I can no longer be a fun, active mommy to my daughters. I cannot play and run around with my daughters anymore. I cannot chase them around the house or park anymore. I can't jump on the trampoline with them. I can no longer pretend to know to dance with them anymore. I can no longer practice jujitsu or be my daughter's bad guy while she practices her moves on me. I cannot even roll around on the grass with my daughters anymore. But what hurts the most is not being able to carry my daughters to bed whenever they fall asleep on the couch, or carry them whenever they get hurt. It breaks my heart having to slowly bend down and kneel whenever my daughters have their little arms out for me. All my daughters want is for their mommy to lift them up, to hug them tight, to carry them while assuring them that they're okay, all while wiping their tears off their face. But I can no longer do that for them. The system is broken. The system is harmful for employees seeking treatment as an injured employee that was not given the treatment despite my horrific on-duty traffic accident. My claim was closed, and I was not given permanent partial disability, knowing the details of my accident and how injured I was. Dr. Hall took me off light duty after 4 days without caring for my well-being and did not refer me to any additional treatment, despite multiple follow-up appointments in which I continued to complain about pain. Legislators have the power to correct this injustice, can hold companies accountable and force them to do the right thing, and not allow others to protect our communities, to suffer from intentional, incompetent, or inadequate care from doctors trying to keep their contracts with these heartless companies. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chair Andy Donahue with the Labor Employers Cooperation and Education Trust, joining support for this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Trying to see if there's anyone at the table in Las Vegas. I don't see anyone. BPS, let's go to the phones.
If you would like to testify in support of SB 274, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, Madam Chair, representatives of the committee. My name is Leonard Cardinelli. I'm a resident of Henderson, Nevada, and I'm a retired police lieutenant. I did nearly 25 years, and I had to retire on a permanent total disability for a heart condition. I medically retired from North Las Vegas Police Department as a police lieutenant after nearly 25 years of service. On behalf of the City of North Las Vegas, my claim was almost immediately denied by the third-party administrator, Cannon Cochran Management Services, CCMSI, without any specific reasons. From the date of the appeal to the date that I prevailed in the appeal, it was approximately 678 days. The claim continued for approximately 6 months after that. NRS 617-457, Section 16 states, the administrator may order the employer, insurer, or third-party administrator as applicable to pay the claimant a benefit penalty of not more than $200 for each day from the date on which the appeal is filed until the date on which the claim is adjudicated to a final decision. In an attached letter, I requested $135,600 based on the NRS. That's at $200 a day. NRS 617-457 also provides that such a benefit penalty is payable in addition to any benefits to which the claimant is entitled under the claim and any fines and penalties imposed by the administrator pursuant to NRS 616-D-120. 616-D-120 additionally sanctions and penalties are mandatory as it was necessary for a claimant to initiate proceedings pursuant to Chapters 616A and 616D inclusive, or Chapter 617 to obtain their accepted claim. I also requested an additional benefit penalty of $50,000 per incident pursuant to 616D-120, 1 through 3. I requested a total benefit penalty of $185,600 with interest, and I did provide exhibits. As anyone can easily read, the language contained in SB 274 would accomplish great strides in ensuring the timely processing and any relative payments towards workers' compensation claimants. This is where the exclusive remedy argument begins to fall apart. In layman's terms, we cannot sue the insurer and or the third-party administrator in a civil action due to the exclusive remedy. The Division of Industrial Relations, who falls under the Nevada Division of Business and Industry, is responsible for that. They're responsible to ensure the processing of workers' compensation claims and make sure they're handled correctly and in a timely manner. If not, the NRS, as described, should be able to hold accountable the employer and or the third-party administrator. In my experience, generally, the Division of Industrial Relations does not respond in a timely manner, and they do not hold insurers and third-party administrators accountable.
Mr. Cardinelli?
What they do is they
Mr.
hold
Cardinelli?
complaint.
Hello, Mr. Cardinelli?
Yes.
Yeah, you've gone beyond time. If you will submit the rest of your testimony in writing, we'd appreciate it, okay?
Can I have another 30 seconds? I'm almost done.
If you submit it, I have to be fair with everyone, okay? So if you will submit that in writing, I certainly would appreciate it. It will become a matter of the record. Okay? Thank you. BPS, anyone else on the line?
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Scott Edwards. I'm the president of the Las Vegas Peace Officers Association. We represent the corrections officers and sergeants at the City of Las Vegas Jail. I've also been a corrections officer for just over 24 years. And in the recognition of time here, I would just say that over my 24 years, myself and my fellow corrections officers have experienced a lot of what you've heard. So we ask you to support SB 274 and pass it, please. Thank you.
Thank you. BPS, anyone else?
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to address this body. My name is Wilson Crespo, C-R-E-S-P-O. I lived in the Las Vegas area since 1986. I'm an Air Force veteran and honorably served the citizens of North Las Vegas with the North Las Vegas Police Department for over 25 years, retiring with the rank of lieutenant in 2015. I'm here to testify in favor of SB 274. In 2019, I was found to have 2 blocked arteries in my heart and diagnosed with coronary artery disease. 2 stents were placed in my heart to prolong my life. According to my doctor, my arteries were blocked 90%. My doctor told me I was lucky to be alive. I was later diagnosed as permanently and totally disabled and unable to be a police officer again. I immediately filed a legitimate workers' comp claim under the Heart and Lung Bill, which the third-party administrator, CCMSI, in the city of North Las Vegas denied immediately without explanation. My claim was not accepted for over 2 years after it was filed. The third-party administrator, CCMSI, refused to pay the monetary portion of my benefits. Bad faith. A third-party administrator, CCMSI, should not be allowed to get away with unreasonable delaying payments or refusing to pay as in my claim. Legitimate claims such as mine with 2 stents, where 2 stents had to be placed in my heart, should not be delayed unnecessarily by a third-party administrator, CCMSI, just because the third-party administrator, CCMSI, has the resources and know-how in doing so. Again, bad faith. There should be accountability for unreasonably delaying paying benefits or refusing to pay, as in my case. Even after being ordered by a hearing officer to pay my claim last year, the third-party administrator, CCMSI, still refuses to pay my claim. Again, bad faith. I believe it's because they can get away with it without any repercussion. Keep in mind, I filed this claim almost 4 years ago, and the third-party administrator, CCMSI, still continues to unreasonably delay paying my claim. Again, bad faith, which they were ordered to pay last year. I believe if there are consequences for the third-party administrators, such as those proposed in this bill, workers with legitimate claims can take civil action against the third-party administrator and hold them accountable for violating statutes in this NRS. As one of the over 13,000 aggrieved claimants, this bill would allow people like me to take civil action against third-party administrators and self-insured employers for their abuse of the system. Thank you.
Thank you. BPS?
public line is open and working. There are no callers at this time.
Thank you. We'll close this part of the hearing and open it up for those in opposition of Senate Bill 274. If you're here in Carson City, or if you're down in Las Vegas, please come to the table. Anyone in opposition? There are 3 chairs here, and I think 3 chairs in Las Vegas. Please begin.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Dalton Hooks. I am appearing on behalf of the Nevada Self-Insurers Association. Just real briefly, I started working in workers' comp in Nevada when I was 19 years old at State Industrial Insurance System. I went from there to Nevada OSHA as a compliance officer, and from there to law school, and now I've been practicing in workers' comp for 20 years, primarily. The NSIA and its members have multiple concerns with SB 274. The first and probably the most important is there's a duplication of existing enforcement. DIR already has responsibilities to enforce this under NRS 616D120. There were some comments earlier about there being a requirement for intentional behavior. This is not true. The statute clearly addresses refused pay or unreasonable delay of any benefit that's due the claimant. So the bill simultaneously raises the fees for that, but we have a number of issues that arise out of creating this, reintroducing bad faith into the system. We did this before, 95, we got rid of it. You will potentially have disparate verdicts between the administrative process as well as the district court. It will delay waiting back and forth for each one, and there's been a conflation of multiple issues that arise out of the system, and certainly we've heard some awful stories this morning, but bad faith isn't going to change a doctor's opinion about whether something is compensable or not. It isn't going to take away litigation around that issue. The members of the committee, I want to make sure you understand, in Nevada workers' comp, we do one issue at a time. So if there's a determination regarding claim acceptance, that isn't going to end litigation on other issues such as scope. The claimant wants payment for travel. There are any number of issues. Any determination that's issued by the administrator is appealable. So as those are appealed, you're going to have additional litigation. But turning back to the point with respect to enforcement, so we have the DIR, which is responsible for doing that. They've put in a fiscal note indicating that doing this is going to increase the number of appeals potentially. You already have the Department of Administration, which oversees claims adjusters, which was added a few sessions ago. So if there are problems with the adjuster, the complaints can be filed and they can be punished under that system. Additionally, this bill, in addition to going backwards, potentially is going to erode the grand bargain. I know this committee's heard about the grand bargain before. Introducing civil penalties weakens the exclusive remedy doctrine, and the benefits that flow from that form both sides. Nevada was ahead of this 1913, only behind New York, coming up with a workers' compensation law. So this body has been out at the forefront of this and was out at the front when it decided to get rid of bad faith. It is going to increase litigation costs. That's not a question. That's going to be to claimants, that's going to be employers, that's going to be to public entities and administrators. This will, in some cases, incentivize claimants to pursue legal action over the administrative process, which both will still exist, apparently. There are potentials for abuses. Certainly there will be lawsuits that are filed just with the intent of forcing issues. This is going to impact small businesses. Insurance rates will increase as a result of this legislation.
Thank you. So I have a couple of questions. And so you say it's going to increase cost. Is that, I think we heard from Ms. Frankel, she's paying like $600 a day or an hour for treatment. Is it more than that?
So the treatment that she's paying for, I don't.
No, I'm
not on that case.
I'm just. You said increased cost, so I imagine that you've done some,
What I would say to that is
actuarial data.
What I would say to that is that there are costs that folks are going to incur when there is litigation about whether something is part of the claim or not. To the extent that that is resolved in that individual's favor, the insurance company will be paying for that anyhow.
Thank you.
With regard to, there was a question earlier with respect to settlement. In terms of settlement, to the extent that a TPA, a self-insured employer, or an employer enters into a settlement agreement and does not follow through with that, again, that is covered under D1, 616 D120 in terms of that being an action. The word bad faith has been bandied about quite a bit. An insurance company or third-party administrator pursuing its due process under appealing a determination is not bad faith. And so I think we need to be very careful about making the distinction between those two things as we go forward. With respect to, as I was saying, with small businesses, this is going to disproportionately affect small businesses, small TPAs and insurers. The bad faith provisions are going to be a boon for lawyers without very much appreciable benefit to injured workers. It isn't going to change claims administration. It is going to potentially be there as a threat in terms of litigation. But again, the system that you have crafted is not perfect, as no system is. But bad faith, we believe, would be a mistake to reintroduce. And unless there's any questions, I'll rest.
Yeah, thank you. I just have I guess, one question. So when claimants sue, I'm just imagining the scenario is one person, one claimant, and one attorney. So how many attorneys are put on the case to rebut whatever the claimant is asking for?
Well, that depends. If the claimant gets private counsel, it's generally going to be that private counsel versus one attorney on the other side. If the claimant does not choose to do that, of course, you have provided, through the Nevada Attorney for Injured Workers, free services for the claimants to get attorneys to do that. And so they'll put a team, one attorney that will go to court, but they have a team of attorneys that work on those cases, including the head of the division, Mr. Beavers.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Question. Okay. Next.
Good morning, Chair Spearman, members of the committee, Paul Murray, acting with the Vegas Chamber. These cases are extremely compelling and understand the impact it has had on the lives of Nevadans, and very much appreciate the bill's sponsor for meeting with the Chamber and its intent of the bill to help. I want to be clear, the Chamber does not support the mistreatment of employees. You have our commitment to work with the bill's sponsor to address the accountability component that has been highlighted today. Our specific concerns to the bill pertain to Section 1, subsection 3, regarding the private right of action. Again, we will work with the bill's sponsor to address those concerns that have been brought forward today regarding the strengthening the regulatory system and the accountability components that have been mentioned today. Thank you for your time, Chair.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Brian Walker, Senior Vice President of the Retail Association of Nevada. We too are opposed to this bill. I think I would echo my comments from the Metro Chamber. These are horrible incidents, and there are many instances in NRS where the penalty perhaps is not high enough in order to be able to compel the kind of activity that you're hoping occurs. But we strongly oppose using the legal field or the judicial system in order to compel those businesses to act in the way that the legislature is hoping that they do. So if those fines, which we heard today, I think almost exclusively one particular company, and it was also fascinating to me that these are local governments, that the employer, we heard the employers are making money by not doing this. These are local government employers. There should be some questions as to why local governments are acting in this particular way, and we would hope that the insurance commissioner would have some questions, because we heard a commonality amongst all of those injured workers today. But because of that one particular company or that one particular incident, completely reintroducing bad credit or bad faith into the workers' comp system in Nevada would have a detrimental effect on all employers. To answer your question, Madam Chair, it's not the cost from the individual or that particular incident that is going to raise costs. It's going to be the liability that any insurer or TPA is going to have to reconcile with this process going forward. And so we would anticipate that the cost of workers' comp could rise for Nevada businesses as we try to figure out what kind of overall general legal liability has been introduced into the system.
So thank you. I just have one question for you, I guess. So if there's a penalty, could that possibly be a deterrent? And so this wouldn't happen. You're right. There's a common theme in all of this. I heard police officers coming forward, and so that makes me think about the statement "back the blue." So there's going to be increased insurance costs, but my question is, if there is a penalty for bad faith, would that actually be a deterrent?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Brian Wachter with the Retail Association of Nevada. We believe that penalties can be a deterrent and are a deterrent throughout NRS. I wouldn't limit it to just a workers' comp example. And there are instances where you see an overwhelming, compelling case of evidence that there's something wrong, or the disincentive to that activity in NRS isn't coming into fruition. And then we should have that conversation. What we didn't hear this morning, though, was kind of any data or anything that suggests that this is a system-wide problem. And so for that reason, we don't think introducing bad faith back into the statute is the appropriate remedy, but rather, taking a look at those penalties. We heard from the sponsor that those haven't been raised on a regular basis, and making sure that those penalties are large enough, and then making sure that the agency that is overseeing this is actually following the steps that they're supposed to do. And I know we have a new insurance commissioner, so perhaps he has a new way, a new vision for how to make sure that the division and the agency is doing what they need to do. But we feel that introducing bad faith as that remedy, as opposed to an increase in the penalty, is going to cause more problems for the larger global system than it would be just trying to solve this one particular problem.
Thank you. Next.
Good morning, Chair, Spearman, and committee members. For the record, Lindsay Knox with McDonald Carano, here representing the Nevada Restaurant Association. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we have seen food costs continue to rise, and SB 274 has the ability to disproportionately affect small businesses due to the increased costs of operations and insurance. Throughout Nevada, restaurants and the food service outlets employ almost 220,000 Nevadans. And with these rising costs, our members, many of which are small businesses and backbone of our communities, may have to make the difficult decisions to keep their doors open or not. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. Warren Hardy, today representing the Urban Consortium, which is made up of the cities of North Las Vegas, Henderson, Reno, and Sparks. It's difficult. One of the most difficult jobs in the legislature is to sit in committee and listen to these horrific stories and these challenges that folks have. And it's an incumbent upon the legislature and us as government employees to deal with this and to find solutions to this problem. But we have the concerns that have been referenced before. I look forward to meeting with the sponsor. I had a good conversation with Senator Daley last night. Look forward to working with him to find real solutions. I will say I would strenuously disagree with my friend, Mr. Wachter, in indicating that this is somehow unique to local government employees. I don't think that's a fair characterization. But we stand ready to work with the sponsor to find real solutions to these challenges.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Committee members, Misty Grimmer with the Ferraro Group representing the Nevada Resort Association. I won't repeat a lot of the comments that have already been said by the speakers directly in front of me. But we too, as the largest employers in the state, we have a significant exposure on the workers' compensation front. And so we absolutely appreciate the spirit of what Senator Daley is bringing in this bill. You will not find a more tireless advocate for workers in this building than Senator Daley. Absolutely give him credit for that. But we do believe that the remedies are in the law currently, and most of the time it works. We have heard some terrible stories this morning, but it is true that most of the time it does work. If we do need to give more muscle or more accountability on the agencies to enforce the law and to do it in a timely manner, then that's a conversation that we're all open to have. But changing the exclusive remedy that's currently in the workers' compensation system, it's a no-fault system. In exchange for that, it is the exclusive remedy. Changing that scenario would completely upset the system. So we would encourage the committee to not pass the bill as drafted.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, we concur with the testimony in opposition as stated, and for those reasons, we are opposed as well. Nevada Alternative Solutions.
Thank you, Chair Spearman and members of the committee. As previously stated, these stories are extremely compelling.
Please state your name.
Oh, I'm sorry. Emily Osterberg, Osterberg. I'm here representing the Henderson Chamber of Commerce and our over 1,800 members, most of who are small businesses. We understand these compelling stories are something that no one should ever have to go through, and we do believe that anyone receiving workers' compensation should receive their benefits. However, our concern is that the effects of this bill might make it harder to keep insurance companies in the state if there's increased possibility of litigation. And for this and the other previous reasons mentioned, we are opposed to SB 274. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Jeanette Bells on behalf of the American Property Casualty Insurance Association. I'm not going to repeat anything that anyone else said. APCIA has submitted a letter. Unfortunately, Senator, there was a miscommunication and it was submitted late. So hopefully it will be able to be posted. It does articulate all of the current penalties that are currently in place by NRS statute. So hopefully that will be of some benefit to have those all in one place. And we look forward to working with the sponsor. Thank you so much.
Chair Spearman and the committee, my name is Director Beth Schmidt, SCHMIDT, and I am with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. These stories are heartbreaking to hear. I am a commissioned supervisor. I am a police officer. I have been part of workers' comp. It is very, very, very hard for us to hear this. Sheriff McMahill is committed to looking at the entire workers' comp system and saying, how do we make it better? How do we fix this? We appreciate Senator Daley, and we plan to work with him. The concern that we have is, it's just as written right now. One of our concerns is the language which says unreasonably delayed payment. There are many reasons why a claim could be delayed, to include the hearing office and the appeals office. A delay would not necessarily mean a refusal to comply, but it could be interpreted that way, and therefore it puts an unreasonable burden on the insurer and the administration. Now, secondly, LVMPD we are a self-insured entity, and therefore we have to use a third-party administrator. One of our concerns is that this bill increases the risk that the third-party administrator must take on in providing these services, and our concern is that those costs could be passed on to the customer, which is our police officers. So we look forward to continuing to work with Senator Daley on this. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sarah Collins. I represent the National Electrical Contractors Association. Our comments and concerns have already been put on the record from previous testimony and opposition, so ditto.
Anyone else here in Carson City? Anyone in opposition in Las Vegas? BPS, anyone on the phones?
If you would like to testify in opposition to SB 274, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. The public line is open and working. There are no callers at this time.
Thank you. Anyone here testifying neutral, either in Carson City or in Las Vegas? I don't see one at the table here in Carson City. Las Vegas, please proceed.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Victoria Carrion for the record. I'm the administrator at the Division of Industrial Relations. Our agency is the regulatory agency for workers' compensation, and we are responsible for ensuring that injured workers receive the benefits they're entitled to in a timely manner. So we are responsible under the NRS for investigating benefit penalty complaints that are submitted to us and making determinations on those. And then those can also be appealed. So we have a caseload of about 230 benefit penalty complaints that come to us on an annual basis. Currently, we do have a backlog of 178 complaints, although I do want to mention that last year we did resolve 361 of them. So we are taking proactive steps to try to resolve them as quickly as we can. We do have limited staff. We only have 2 investigators that investigate these benefit penalty complaints. They can only do about 4 per month, so that has limited our ability to resolve these in a timely manner. We do believe that by increasing the benefit penalty amounts, the penalty actually that can be imposed, that would increase the demand for benefit penalties, and so we think we would likely see an increase in the number of benefit penalty complaints by at least 50 per year, so we would need additional resources for that. And so we have submitted a fiscal note. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Neutral? BPS, anyone on the phones?
If you would like to testify in neutral for SB 274, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, Chair. I'm actually wanting to testify in support, but the system wasn't allowing me. With Grace, I would like to testify in support.
Yeah, please
Hello?
proceed. Yes, proceed. We can hear you.
Hello, Chair. Yes, I was wanting to call in support, but the system wasn't recognizing me before. Would you allow me the opportunity to testify in support?
Yes, and you have 2 minutes, so please proceed.
Okay, yes, hello. My name is Troyce Krumme, Troyce Krumme. I am the current Vice Chairman of the Las Vegas Police Managers and Supervisors Association. We represent the sergeants, lieutenants, and captains employed with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. You have heard several stories today, and I am aware of multiple stories throughout my career of struggles and issues with the current workman's comp system and getting people the proper treatment when they are injured on duty in a timely fashion. We believe that SB 274 is a step in the right direction to correct this. And to provide the support for those that step up and decide to work. And we believe the legislature has a responsibility to ensure that those workers are protected when they get injured. Thank you.
Thank you. BPS, anyone else?
If you would like to testify in opposition to 274,
We're on neutral.
SB
We're on neutral.
274, please press star 9.
BPS, we're on
If you
neutral.
would like to testify.
We're on
If you
neutral.
would like to testify in neutral to SB 274, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. The public line is open and working. There are no callers at this time.
Thank you, Senator Daly. You have closing remarks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, Skip Daly for the record, representing Senate District 13. So yes, I have a few comments. Usual cast of characters and the usual reasons why we can't move forward with these various things and et cetera. And I will work with everybody that wants to, try to talk to them, see if we can tighten things up, get some things there. But the system is not working. I didn't actually hear an alternative solution to the problems that we heard today that are very real and impact people's lives. And like I said, we have responsibility here. They did mention the grand bargain, as they said, that we have the exclusive remedy in exchange for actually getting these claims paid. And if that process isn't working, all right, and there's no actual remedy, I'll volunteer to Commissioner Insurance will let me to, determine the benefit penalties, but I don't think they'll let me do it. So I think I could probably clear up a few things. When I talk about the cost increases, I wanted to address that. Everyone said it's going to impact this, it's going to impact small businesses, they might have to pay more premiums, et cetera, et cetera. We understand the law, and they all said, law's working, things are okay. We have all of this stuff in statute already. So people that are providing this insurance have created a premium schedule, and they're charging that in order to comply with the law, which is to take care of injured workers. So if they're going to have to increase premiums to actually take care of injured workers because this passed for the bad faith, then they've already baked the cheat in. There shouldn't be a cost increase because they've already promised to do what they're supposed to do under the law. There shouldn't be an increase. So I'm, it's kind of like figures don't lie, but liars can figure is the way I'm going to chalk that up. What I did hear is that the system's working, there's no problem, various things, and my fellow senator from Southern Nevada walked out. So the sports analogy here is this: if anyone saw the movie Moneyball, and they asked, and I said this in another committee once, I says, if so-and-so, I forget the player's name, is a good hitter, how come he doesn't hit good? So if the system is working, how come it's not working, right? So you can't have that thing both ways. And I can tell you this, and we'll let Kim make her final statements here. It's more than just public employee, and it's more than just law enforcement. I see this all across the board, construction, various things. And, the cases may be few, but they're significant. And I can tell you is that nobody has anything to fear from this bill passing as long as they follow the rules. Rules are in place, follow the rules, comply with the law, faithfully pay the claims in good faith. You'll have nothing to fear from anything that we put into the statute.
Madam Chair?
Thank you.
Madam Chair? Can I ask?
Senator Stone?
Yeah, thank you, Senator Dealey, and I really appreciate the presentation. And Ms. Frankel, thank you so much for being here and telling us your horrific story. But if you don't mind, in your case, did the DIR impose a penalty on the third-party administrator for defying the hearing determination in your case and appeal? Were you awarded anything?
For the record, Kim Frankel. I'm sorry, I can't see your name, Senator.
Jeff.
Senator Stone.
Yeah.
Your question, if I'm understanding, the question is, did DIR fine CCMSI, the third-party administrator, for mishandling my claim? Correct, yes, they did. Have I received, did I receive any money from that, even though they were ordered to pay me within 10 days? No, I have not. As I testified earlier, it just tied me up in the system longer because they're appealing it. And so I have to go to another appeal hearing on May 24th with DIR because the Washoe County and their third-party administrator are appealing the findings. They were found to be out of compliance by 234 days.
Wow. Well, thank you for that. And I agree with the good senator that is highlighting this issue, is that the system is in fact broken. I was not here when they reconstructed, if you will, the workman's comp system here. We have rules that are in place. I don't call our friends that maybe oppose this bill a cast of characters. I would say that they're vested partners, and I don't think any of them that were speaking here today want to see what this poor young woman has gone through. I also think that it's disappointing that the administrator of the Division of Industrial Relations wasn't here today or gave us testimony here to answer some of these questions as to why we're not following the system that is in place. And so there's a failure in that department, and maybe with a new department head and obviously more staffing, maybe this will mitigate a lot of these issues. But I also would like to say for the record that coming from a state where we had the highest workman's comp rates in the entire country, it was an impediment to economic development. And I know that when you involve attorneys, the costs tend to escalate, but I'm not discounting the need for an attorney at a time when you have no other remedies to you. So I know we have a system that took a lot of time to develop. I'd like to fix that system if we possibly can. And I look forward to working with the good senator to make sure that people like you get the awards in a timely way to mitigate the horrific impact that your work injury has created for you. So thank you again for being here, and thank you, Senator Daley, for highlighting the issue.
Just real briefly in closing, Leslie Bell, Washoe County Sheriff's Deputies Association. I'd like to point out a couple of things that I think are very relative. The people that are fined, that is not public record. So as a consumer, you cannot go ask the Division of Insurance or the regulatory agency to disclose how much either a TPA or a self-insured employer or an insurance company has been fined. Again, by statute, that information is protected from the general public. Also, one of the reasons I believe you hear testimony about self-insured employers, insurance companies pass these laws off to the consumer. It goes out in rate. They recover their money. They are not as prone to commit a bad act because they don't have the same incentive as a self-insured employer who is paying dollar for this. There was just a very large rate decrease in workers' compensation rate issued by the Division of Insurance. It was 0.6%, I think. It was just issued on March 1st of 2023. Our rates keep going down. The other thing you see is you see cost shifting. Cost shifting is huge, especially in the self-insured market, because they can push the costs into the benefit health programs. And that's very well publicized that there's a trend towards cost shifting work comp expenses out of the system. My final comment is related to the TPA self-insured relationship. Again, I was a licensed TPA for a great number of years, and I currently handle claims for a self-insured employer. The self-insured employer, in accordance with 616B324, is responsible for the actions of their agent. The TPA, to the comments of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, is not responsible for those. The self-insured employer is. In exchange, the TPA is required to be bonded, and they're required to have errors and omissions insurance. So if a self-insured employer is fined or sued because of the bad faith acts of their TPA, there is a remedy in place for that already, and that is through insurance products, and that is through the self-insured employer being responsible for the behavior of their agents. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess you probably can't answer this, but I need it to be on the record. We've heard some horrendous, some testimonies that detail some horrendous actions. And my question to somebody that's, don't have to answer it here, this is something answering the conscience. The people who have testified and who've said that they've been wronged, and we've seen evidence of that, my question to someone who would have a conscience would be, are you willing to make this right for them? The next thing is, I've been had Mr. Megalejo frantically looking to see, because I heard someone say retaliation. And although there are some instances in NRS that loosely relate to that, it is not in there specifically. And so I believe that one of the ways to tighten this up is to add an amendment with specificity about what that looks like. And I've heard a couple of people in opposition say that the fines should be increased, and I agree. And I agree that there's a cost shifting. Because when employers don't pay their workers a living wage, they have to go to Medicaid or SNAP or something like that, and so we bear the burden of it. So I look forward to the conversations taking place here, and as I said before, my question would be, the people who have testified, and they have evidence of that, how do the people who are responsible for that, are they willing to make it right? Are they willing to make it right? Yeah. You can't answer that. I'm putting it on the record because there have been, you know, based upon the testimony, and I'm not an attorney, but I'm just saying what I see. And this looks like the perfect opportunity for folks who don't want to see costs go up to make it right. There's a show on HGTV that says homes, we make it right. So how about that?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, Skip Daly for the record. And I wasn't going to attempt to answer that question. I was just going to say is that the cast of characters, the band of brothers, if you will, are all people that I know. They're my friends as well. And yes, we are going to have some of these discussions. I'd like to hear, you know, how do we move forward and address some of their concerns and various things, but we have to solve the problem.
So we know the first committee passage is on the 14th, so I'd like to hear from both sides at least by Monday. I know there's a weekend, but, you know, that's what we get 75 cents a day for. Okay, so, all right. Thanks a lot. And with that, we'll close the hearing on Senate Bill 274 and open it up for public comment. Anyone here in Carson City for public comment? And again, public comment does not include anything that has already been heard in any of the bills that we've discussed. Anyone in Las Vegas for public comment? BPS, anyone on the phones for public comment?
If you would like to provide public comment, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. The public line is open and working. There are no callers at this time.
Thank you, BPS. And with that, we will close this edition of the Senate Committee on Commerce and Labor. We are adjourned.